Welcome to another episode of Gov Tech Today. I'm Russell Lowery.
And I'm Jen Saha.
And together we try and bridge the gap between .com and .gov. There's a massive conference in San Francisco, the RSA Conference. Why don't you tee up, I doubt any of our listeners are unfamiliar with it, but just in case, why don't you tee up what the RSA Conference is?
So RSAC is basically cybersecurity, anything and everything. The predominant focus of it is commercial. So you will see massive, displays. They take over the Moscone Center. There's hundreds of thousands of attendees that come into the city. Anything and everything cybersecurity.
I've gone for the last 3 years, and not the point of our conversation today, but man, San Francisco was a million times better this year. That it smelled different. Like walking around was completely different.
Yeah, I heard from a city official who shall remain unnamed that they really came through and did a big cleanup before of homelessness and any drug issues that were visible, because there has been a lot of talk about San Francisco as a location for these things, and no one wants to come in if it's going to be dirty and smelly and dangerous.
Well, congratulations to the city of San Francisco. Whatever they did, it worked. I don't know why anyone would want to live any differently, so you might want to whatever you did, it worked.
It was lovely.
It was lovely.
It was lovely.
It was definitely lovely. Okay, now to the substance. When I go, it's mainly about the people. I feel bad for some of the public sector people that I've talked. Your bait in a pool full of sharks. With salespeople that are doing that, but culture is you're not just walking up and pitching the random CISO on your product. So just culturally, how does the interaction work?
Well, I think it is really one of those things that is mainly aimed at the commercial side. So you will have companies with huge displays of, everything they're capable of. And they're not just pitching to like government.
Right.
They're pitching to everyone.
Yeah.
So there are entire forums from these major cybersecurity companies. And public sector is, a tiny little part of that, right? Like our government representation at it is like a sliver of this massive conference.
Right. So I registered and I walked through the massive conference and I saw everything over there. But the public sector was sort of off in a corner in a separate building. And I walked over there, and it's still, if that was your only experience with RSEC, it was still big.
It was still big.
It was everybody you needed to talk to.
I spent most of my time there because that's just my job.
Right.
But yeah, it was still a great event. And I do like sort of the carved out focus on the public sector because it is a very different ballgame.
Right. And I did notice that there were public sector people who were heading over to sort of the big conference. They like to, I think it's just how people shop. I'm not sure the sales world has caught on, but people are investigating solutions all the time. They're not working away and just waiting for that email to hit their box to sell them something. They're thinking about this technology all the time, and this was an occasion for them to walk up to a booth, get some information, ask questions. They are doing that.
Well, and if I'm a public sector CISO, I do want to know what's going on in the commercial world because guess what? It's coming my way next.
Right. And they can shoot an email and follow up, have the best response available on the planet pretty quick.
Plus, these companies all bring the heavy hitters.
Right.
So you'll get like the CEO of a company coming out and hanging out on the floor in their booth. So it's a great opportunity to really connect with some of the high level leadership that maybe don't come to Sacramento every day.
Well, that's sort of the substance of the programming, but the actual details of what were the hot topics that were coming up, and none of these are going to surprise us. But the AI was all over the place. One vendor I don't mind mentioning it. Wiz was taking an AI free zone. They were marketing as an AI free zone, so you could talk about anything except AI in this little zone
And was
because
it
it
like
was
super
everywhere.
quiet and
Yeah,
crickets over there?
yeah, because it was everywhere.
Yeah.
The one of the big ones, and it's hard for folks to sort, but AI agents
Hmm.
were everywhere. Was it just buzzword, or what was the takeaway from
I
RSAC
mean,
on that?
so my focus was very much on the public sector use of AI and security products. Agentic AI has been a buzzword in the commercial side of these operations for a few years now. But I think this year, more than previous years, the focus was on these AI agents as a user and as something that does need to be governed, and there are guardrails around it. So looking at AI agents as actual users in your organization in the public sector.
So what does that mean as a user? So if I'm an employee, we use AI, every day in the context of our work. If I have an agent that's going back and forth between a folder and a website and gathering information and kind of replacing a Notion type of product, or a Slack type of product. Um, does treating an agent as an employee mean I need rules, or
Yeah,
how does that?
it's mainly about the identity access management
Okay.
around that person. So you're going to have guardrails, you're going to have least privileged access, you're going to give that AI agent access to only what it needs access to in order to do its job. So from a management perspective, you have all these AI agents, tools, operations internally, and you need to treat them like employees. You need logging, you need auditing, you need access controls defined for each of those agents the same way you would a normal employee.
So maybe, and it's just the way my brain works, maybe instead of thinking of an agent as an AI agent as an employee or a contractor, just putting it into the broader governance
Yep.
conversation, which was also hot and on a lot of minds. How was the governance conversation structured?
So we are looking at governance today as more of a primary security control within these public sector organizations.
So
So,
not just compliance with FedRAMP or some other NIST or some other standard, but using governance as a primary identity security tool in the first place.
right. And aligning with any and all of those security, FedRAMP, StateRAMP, NIST, all of these controls that are out there, your AI has to align with them too. It can't just be like, yes, we have AI, it's functioning over here. Oh, we forgot about all of these things that we need to comply with.
Okay, so is that using the AI to help comply with all that stuff, but also using the identity access and governance?
So, using AI to help all of your systems align, but
Okay.
also making sure that AI itself aligns
Okay,
as well.
so it's not a disconnected doing this thing on everything else you're doing. It comes within the same guidance and frameworks. And people are passing things at both the federal and the state law about what AI can and can't do. You're going to have to write rules and procedures, and your governance process is going to
Oh, yeah.
is
There's a new AI regulation or executive order or guidance framework put out almost daily, it seems
somewhere.
like. So, making sure that your AI is helping other systems comply with these things, but also complying in itself.
I've had some interesting conversation with folks who are thinking about, um, particularly on the infrastructure side, in a different way. So we live in the shadow of Folsom Dam, Shasta Dam, and when people think of critical infrastructure, you're thinking, okay, is someone going to blow up the dam? We need to reinforce it with concrete. But more and more now, critical infrastructure, people are thinking of that as a cyber security risk. How is that playing out?
It is more of a focus in cybersecurity. And I think that one of the themes that I picked up on at RSA was shifting that responsibility from a federal level down to like a state and a local level as well. So I think there is going to be more of a trend where technology and cybersecurity are thought of when you think of transportation or infrastructure or water systems or utilities. And it just became really evident to me at RSA that it is more of an issue that we need to consider when it comes to cybersecurity, because I think it's always sort of been like an afterthought. Or identity and access management, not just to your IT systems, but to your physical buildings. Physical
Right.
access is now a focus of cybersecurity too.
I've been thinking about this problem for a couple of years and I don't have a solution, but um, some of our, like I think of water agencies in particular, are as sophisticated as any other users on the planet. They're big agencies. But there are water districts in this state who have 1.5 full-time employees. They're running on a laptop and a employee in a truck that's mowing the grass, checking the testing, and driving out. They're really that small.
And he's
And
not an IT guy.
he's not an IT guy.
Yeah.
The skill set he brings to that is not a degree in computer science from one of our universities. He's bringing his job is to keep the pipes open and
Yep.
flowing and repairing and maintenance background more than an IT security. But they're connected and they have devices and maybe no one's looking, but maybe a bad guy is. They just don't have budgets or tooling
Yep.
to defend against cyber instances. And as I watch at the highest levels, it's becoming increased. The spend is increasing, the hardening is increasing, and nothing is changing at that lower level. That guy doesn't even know it's not on his radar
Right.
at all. It's a non-issue. I think something's going to have to be done at that lower level, and I don't have the solution yet, but I
I don't
know that it's a
either.
problem.
I mean, the idea is, and I heard this a couple times, was like that coordination between jurisdictions and collaboration with others and some shared services models where, sure, that guy doesn't have it in this tiny little water district, but guess what? LADWP is right down the road and they do have a really sophisticated operation. So I think collaboration among agencies and maybe looking at some shared services could be a strategy that would be helpful for those little guys.
I think I think that shared services is definitely going to happen. It's going to happen more and more. And if I think of a multi-rung ladder, I think that's happening. You can share a threat assessment or that we're getting certain information, and the state does a pretty good job of dispersing that information. But that's 2 or 3 layers up.
Yep.
I'm thinking more of that. Uh, there are systems that are secured, but by like a Windows Defender
Yeah.
type of system, and that's clearly inadequate. Going back to the AI agent, when the last time we've talked about that on the show, it's been more of a it's coming, it's getting ready. There's a clear sense that it's no longer emerging at this point.
It's here. It's here now. I think that was I took a note. It is no longer aspirational. It is here now and it is happening today. I mean, other buzzwords that I picked up on: quantum computing. Again, no longer aspirational, something we need to deal with now. And the idea also that like procurement has to catch up with these things. I don't know right now that our procurement models in the public sector are designed for this or even ready for it. And that's a little concerning, right? We're deploying these things inside of government, but do our procurement models serve the needs of what is happening today and tomorrow and next month?
I wouldn't even even criticize it from the standpoint of it seems to change every couple months.
Yep.
The capabilities are growing. A new model is released. There's tweaks and changes. New use cases come up. Some of the, I don't know this, but some of the billing circumstances, if these agents are running and they're checking
Yep.
or pulling data constantly, how is that going to impact cloud ingest fees? Or
Yep. Well, and there was a lot of discussion about, tool sprawl, and do we need a whole other tool, or is it integrating AI into the tools that we do have, and sort of how you get away from that and towards more of an outcome-based procurement model, which is something we've always kind of struggled with in
Right.
government. Outcome-based procurement, it doesn't work super well. And then when you put it on top of security and cybersecurity and looking at outcomes based on the tools that we have in cybersecurity, I think that's even more of a stretch that I'm not sure we're ready for yet from a procurement standpoint.
Well, we've touched on a couple issues, but seems like another one where we're identifying an issue, but we don't really have a proposed solution. But we need thought partners. If you have thoughts and you want to, you need to engage with the public sector, because
Yep.
we're all trying to figure it out. Let's conclude this episode with a little conversation about outcome-based security. I thought I saw in the private security, in the private sector, when you look at cybersecurity, it seemed like people were designing cybersecurity to comply with their insurance policy. Insurance policy said you had to do X, Y, Z, or you weren't covered up to a certain dollar amount. They built up to that standard and they were good on their insurance.
Yep.
At least we know what the financial incentives are, and the outcome based in the insurance market kind of puts a premium or risk, and people are taking risk on both sides. But what does outcome-based security look like, or how is that defined in a public sector context?
I mean, I think it goes back to the evaluation of the effectiveness of the contract. And it's difficult because a lot of these tools are delivering automation. And how do you measure automation? Is it the number of hours that it took to get something done, the number of man hours versus computer hours? So having these models in place that allow you to sort of develop measures around your contracts, your tools, your tech stack that are going to help you make decisions based on the effectiveness, the efficiency, the return on investment for some of these, I think is something that in the cybersecurity space and the AI space in particular, kind of it complicates things a lot more.
Well, that's a wrap on this year's RSAC conference. Thanks for sharing your thoughts and perspective. You going to go next year?
It was super fun. I'll be there next year. It's always a good party, if nothing else. And the city, you're right, was beautiful.
Hope it's the same next year.
Me too.